The second part of the anime begins by showing Meliodas and Ban finally meet again after a long time. To celebrate their meeting, they fight each other, destroying the Baste dungeon and the trap that Golgius and Jericho had set up. Long story short, Meliodas and his companions returned to Dalmari City to take Senate to his house. Her father, who survived after being stabbed by Golgius, thanked Meliodas and his companions and treated them to a meal. Elsewhere, a member of the 7 deadly sins named King is seen with Gilthunder, revealing that they have been working together all along. In fact, Meliodas and the others believe that he is dead. Gilthunder then warns King not to betray him, especially after knowing that Meliodas has returned and is gathering the members of the 7 deadly sins. The scene then switches to the years before Bond joined the 7 deadly sins. At the time, he sought to become immortal by drinking the Fountain of Youth, a liquid sap produced by sacred tree, so he could live long enough for something good to happen. Bond finally finds the sacred tree in the Fairy King's forest, and after climbing to the top of the tree, he sees a cup containing the Fountain of Youth. He looks very happy because he managed to find what he was looking for all this time. However, when he was about to take it, Bond was confronted by a girl named Elaine, who is the protector of the Fountain of Youth. Although her body is smaller than Bond's, Elaine could easily throw him to bounce far. Bond apparently did not give up there and repeatedly tried to take the Fountain of Youth. However, no matter how many times he tried, Elaine always managed to thwart his attempts until finally, she realized that Bond was different from other humans. They then engage in conversation after she asks about his goal of getting immortality to live a meaningful life. In the present, Meliodas and his companions arrive in a rundown town near the capital of the dead, where King is said to be buried. Meliodas decides to reopen the boar hat, but not a single customer comes there. Meanwhile, Bond, who was walking through the city, accidentally met a little girl named Ellen who suddenly collapsed from hunger. He intends to help her, but her brother appears and assumes Bond is about to harm her, so her brother recklessly stabs the garden fork into his body to save Ellen. Due to his strength, Bond was completely unharmed. Suddenly, someone stabs him with a spear, and that person turns out to be King, who is now in the form of a boy. Bond and King were involved in a fight, until finally Meliodas and Diane arrived there, and were very surprised to learn that King was still alive, and now in the form of a boy. Bond and Diane couldn't believe that the boy was King because the person they knew had a fat body. However, King has some abilities, such as levitating or flying, changing his appearance and clothes at will, and possessing great speed equal to Meliodas and Bond. After revealing himself to his former comrades, King leaves the place while Meliodas and the others decide to return to the boar hat. At that place, Bond, who is good at cooking, then made food for them and also entertained Ellen and his brother so that they would not starve anymore. After that, he asked them about the path to the capital of the dead, a crystallized dimension parallel to the world of the living, where the souls of the deceased reside. However, after meeting the boy he believed to be King, Meliodas said they no longer needed to go there because King was still alive. Ignoring his words, Bond insists on leaving even though, according to rumors, living individuals can't enter the place even if they just desire to. But, Ellen says someone who shares a precious memory with a deceased person can enter the place without dying. The next day, Meliodas and his companions try to find a way to the capital of the dead. Just as they were about to give up that they couldn't find their way there, Bond thought of Elaine, and a magical flower bloomed, showing the way to the capital of the dead. Not long after, a powerful vortex appeared around them and opened a portal to the capital of the dead. Unbeknownst to them, King had followed them for a long time, so he too had sneaked in. After entering the place, Bond saw Elaine's figure, so he rushed after her, as well as King, who immediately confronted Bond when they lost the figure they thought was Elaine. King then reveals that the Fairy King's forest is where he lives, and Elaine is his younger sister. Upon hearing that, Bond remembered that Elaine had told him about her brother, who had left her for over 700 years. Talking about Elaine, King was reminded of the past when the 7 deadly sins were slandered and wanted by the Holy Knights. At that time, he chose to return to the Fairy King's forest, and how shocked he was when he saw that the place had been burned down and Elaine had died. After that, King realized Bond's immortality must have come from the Fountain of the Youth, indicating that he was the mastermind behind the fire and the person who had killed Elaine. Meanwhile, a flash of the real incident flashed through Bond's mind. At that time, he and Elaine, who had spent time together, fell in love with each other and made him forget about his desires. But then came a red demon into the forest and started burning it down. Bond tried to fight the demon by ripping one of its hearts out, but Elaine explained that demons have more than one heart. She was clawed through by the demon, and so was Bond, which gave both of them a fatal wound. She gave the Fountain of the Youth to him, so he could live, but he refused. However, she made him drink it mouth to mouth, giving him her immortality, which allowed him to kill the demon, but the forest was still burnt down, and he was blamed for its destruction. Turning to the present, King then turns his pillow into a giant stuffed bear and stabs Bond, turning his entire body into stone due to King's curse. When he turns completely into a statue and King leaves him behind, King suddenly notices spheres of light approaching him. As King recognizes the spheres to be Elaine, she kisses Bond to break King's curse. They exchange their greetings when King confusingly yells at them, questioning whether Elaine is still angry at him for leaving her and their kingdom. Meanwhile, Ellen and her brother meet a female knight named Gilla, who forces them to show them the way to the capital of the dead. Gilla, who finally managed to enter, was in a fierce battle with Meliodas and Dione. Knowing that his friends were in trouble, Bond went there. However, before leaving, he tells Elaine that one day, he will propose to her, and they will live happily ever after. Bond joined the fight, but they were getting badly hurt even with him on the team. Meanwhile, King continues questioning Elaine why she forgave Bond and not him. After that, she explains to King why she couldn't forgive him so easily. Before King says anything else, Elizabeth and Hawk come running by, trying to escape from Gilla. He asks who they are, so they introduce themselves and are currently traveling with Meliodas. Elizabeth tells him what is happening on the battlefield and asks him to help her. When he refuses, King is surprised when Elizabeth bravely tells him to run away instead, and she tries to borrow his spear to fight against Gilla. Feeling inspired by Elizabeth's bravery, King activates levitates and heads to the battle. As the battle continued, Meliodas and his companions were losing, but King arrived and offered to help them and fight Gilla alone. King easily defeats Gilla with his sacred treasure, the spirit spear Chastifal, sending her soul back into her unconscious body, which the group tied upon returning to the living world. King explains that Gilla is a type of holy knight known as a new generation and mentions the sacred treasure owned by each member of the 7 deadly sins. Meliodas finally reveals that he sold his sacred treasure to found the boar hat, while Bond's sacred treasure was confiscated while he was in prison, and Dione lost her sacred treasure while trying to escape the holy knights. After King decided to rejoin the 7 deadly sins, they finally agreed to go on a mission to find the sacred treasures. Elsewhere, Gilthunder and his colleague, Hauser, attend a meeting of the Holy Knights discussing the Holy War. Afterward, Gilthunder and Hauser meet Dreyfus, where Gilthunder then informs Dreyfus that King has betrayed him and rejoins the 7 deadly sins. Hauser asks whether the 7 deadly sins are really as great as rumored, as Dreyfus looks worried when he learns that King has rejoined his group. Dreyfus also says that he was told about how Meliodas destroyed a kingdom in an instant simply because he could not contain his anger. Hearing this, Hauser no longer questioned the power of the 7 deadly sins and chose to leave the room. Meanwhile, Jericho and Twigo are summoned by the great holy knight, Hendrickson, to become the new generation of the holy knights, which requires them to drink the blood from the corpse of the red demon. This demon is the one who ravaged the Fairy King's forest. Suddenly, Twigo explodes after drinking the blood, while Jericho survives the excruciating experience. The following day, with Dione and Elizabeth staying behind, Meliodas takes Bond and King to the merchant town of Vazel and sign up for its annual fighting festival. The prize is Dione's sacred treasure, Warhammer Gideon. Unexpectedly, Hauser was also there for the tournament, as was Veronica Leonis, Elizabeth's adoptive sister, who came there accompanied by her bodyguard, a holy knight named Griaumor. When the fight is about to start, a mysterious woman appears who wears the exact same outfit as Elizabeth and registers as a tournament participant. After the mysterious woman defeats Griaumor, she reveals her true identity, who was Dione. Dione has miraculously shrunk to the size of a normal human, while Elizabeth has become very small. It happened because they were accidentally hit by a magic spell while exploring the forest. In the ensuing battle, King can easily be defeated by a drunken old man, as he is very weak without his sacred treasure and his beloved pillow. He felt sad because he couldn't use his power against an ordinary human. Soon afterward, Meliodas and Bond face each other in the next fight. Even though they are good friends, in terms of battle, both of them don't want to give up. A fierce battle between them is inevitable, making the battle arena crumble. In the end, Meliodas managed to win the fight. Meanwhile, Dione can easily bring down Hauser in the next round. After defeating Bond, Meliodas confronts the old man who defeated King, who reveals that he is Cain Barzad, a former holy knight of the kingdom of Danafer, the kingdom Meliodas accidentally destroyed when he lost control of his anger. Cain creates a small fireball and releases it while asking Meliodas the reason he destroyed Danafer. Hearing that, he admitted that he was wrong. Cain continues his attacks while keep asking his opponent why he killed the people of Danafer and then releases a giant fireball. Meliodas finally replies that he had tried to protect them but failed and that this failure is his sin. Meliodas then uses a technique that completely disperses the attack. He replies that he has come to remember Cain as well and reaffirms Cain of his earlier statement. Cain is happy that the rumors he heard about Meliodas' responsibility for the destruction of Danafer are false. He also decided to admit defeat in the fight, so Meliodas was declared the winner. In the final match, Meliodas will face Dione, who doesn't hesitate to beat him, just like Bond. But in the middle of the fight, they suddenly felt a threat that endangered the safety of the residents of Vazel City. Meanwhile, in a cave not far from Vazel City, a man named Alan is seen reading a book to a figure hiding in the shadows. He tried to calm the mysterious figure so it wouldn't go berserk and endanger everyone's safety. At the same time, realizing that the threat was getting closer, Meliodas and his comrades then revealed their identity as the 7 deadly sins in front of Vasil city residents and the holy knights who happened to be there. Meliodas and his companions say that they will take over the city and threatens to carry out a massacre if the residents don't leave the city soon. They did this to save the residents from the attacks that would soon come. But it was all too late. A commotion breaks out when suddenly Vasil is attacked by a raining hail of explosions. Dozens of fireballs engulfed the city, and when a giant fireball was about to destroy the arena filled with many people, Meliodas immediately rushed to destroy the fireball, saving everyone. The residents then ran in panic, trying to save themselves, while the 7 deadly sins faced Gilla and Jericho, the masterminds behind the attack. Jericho immediately attacks Bon to take revenge because Bon had defeated him in the Baste dungeon, while Meliodas must return to fight Gilla. The fierce battle between them turned the place into ruins, creating a large crack in the ground, causing Diane's body to fall into it. On the other hand, Elizabeth miraculously changed back to her original form. She then meets her adoptive sister Veronica and Grielmore. Shortly afterward, Veronica invites her to return to the palace, but she refuses and chooses to stay with Meliodas and the 7 deadly sins. Upon hearing that, Veronica scolds Elizabeth for getting involved with the 7 deadly sins and believes Meliodas bewitched her. Soon afterward, Veronica traps him within the goddess Amber, a stone designed to seal evil entities. She turned out to have been told by Hendrickson that in Meliodas' body there was a very terrible demonic figure. Afterward, Grielmore is forced to trap Elizabeth when she attempts to flee with Meliodas' sword and the goddess Amber, only to redirect the spell on Gilla and Jericho when they attempt to take her against Veronica's wishes. Elizabeth took advantage of the opportunity to escape, but Veronica immediately chased after her until they were accidentally caught in a trap that had been prepared by Gilla. However, Veronica chooses to save her younger sister and keeps Elizabeth from being blown away. Grielmore arrives there and sees Veronica already dying. At the end of her life, Veronica asks Grielmore to protect Elizabeth no matter what. After she dies from her wounds, Meliodas breaks out of the goddess Amber at Elizabeth's call with a dark aura around him. With black marks appearing on several parts of his body and the color of his eyes turning dark, it was as if he had turned into another person. Gilla and Jericho managed to escape the magic spell and prepared to attack Meliodas. But Bon, who knew there was something odd about him, attacked him first. Sure enough, Meliodas didn't even recognize Bon as his comrade and didn't hesitate to slash his body. Meanwhile, King meets a difficult opponent, a man named Helbram, an exceptionally strong holy knight capable enough to single-handedly overwhelm King without much effort, despite using his sacred treasure. Helbram's link power allows him to take on the powers of others who ally themselves with him. As long as everyone remains allied with him, he can add multiple powers to his own. In fact, he can also match Meliodas' power, who is currently under the influence of the demon that resides within him. Because of Meliodas' condition, the Holy Knights conducted experiments by drinking the demon's blood, until finally, the new generations were created, like Gilla and the others. Knowing that Helbram is now fighting against Meliodas, Hendrickson even participates in borrowing his power from Helbram through his link power. Helbram's power increased dramatically until finally able to bring down Meliodas while eliminating the influence of the devil in him. When he was about to kill Meliodas, Diane arrived and swung her giant hammer at him, sending him flying very far. After that, Diane slammed her giant hammer into the ground, sending a huge crack of earth rising into the air, trying to block Helbram, who was trying to escape from the fight. It didn't stop there. The cracks in the ground then merged into a giant lump of solid earth, which immediately fell on Helbram. At another place, Hendrickson, noticing that Helbram's aura had disappeared, thought the man had been defeated. In fact, Helbram managed to survive the deadly attack and seize the hilt of Meliodas' sword, which turned out to be the key to the revival of the demon clan. Meanwhile, Alan is seen trying to calm the mysterious figure, who turns out to be the armor giant. Due to the fierce battle that took place in Vasil City, the armor giant became very restless and frightened and caused the armor he was wearing to crack. So he had to find a way to repair the crack, as well as find a new hiding place for the two of them. After a fierce battle against the Holy Knights in Vasil City, Meliodas and his companions left the city. With his sword now stolen and seeing how dangerous the Holy Knights have become, he decides to stop holding back and end the ongoing war for good. Sometime later, Meliodas and his companions arrived at Orden Village and decided to open the boar hat in the village. Meliodas then asked Elizabeth and Hawk to distribute the boar hat pamphlets to the villagers while he and the others would look for food in the forest. While distributing pamphlets, Elizabeth accidentally meets Alan, who is looking for the glue to repair the armor of his large traveling companion. However, he knows her identity, who was a fugitive from the Holy Knights. Elsewhere, Helbram was discussing the appearance of the armor giant roaming the forest near Orden Village. He firmly believed that the armor giant was a member of the 7 deadly sins named Gowther, and then ordered Gilla and Jericho to deploy troops to capture the armor giant. Meanwhile, Meliodas also learned about the rumors, so he went to the forest with Bon and King to find Gowther's whereabouts. When they got there, they were surprised by the Holy Knight's battle against the armor giant, which pushed the armor giant down because he wasn't at his best. Knowing this, they rushed to help the armor giant. Not long after, Alan arrived there and instead tried to calm the armor giant by reading a rhyme from a book he had read. When a Holy Knight shot a magic arrow at the armor giant, he could easily catch the arrow right before it hit the armor giant. However, it reveals Alan's identity, who turns out to be Gowther. Meliodas was very surprised that Gowther was no longer wearing his giant armor. Gowther said that he handed his armor giant to a monster to seal its uncontrollable power. The Holy Knights apparently only wanted the monster's head, so Gowther beheaded the monster and gave it to them to stop the fight. After the Holy Knights leave, he reveals to his comrades that the monster was once a Holy Knight named Dale, who turned into a monster due to an experiment. Even though his head had been cut off, the monster could still get back up and attack them. However, after learning that the monster was once Dale, Meliodas seems half-hearted in fighting against him. He apparently remembers Dale as one of the Holy Knights who was very kind and greatly admired the 7 deadly sins. Meanwhile, Elizabeth, who has returned to the Boar Hat, is visited by Cain, who wants to spend time drinking at the bar. She lets Cain in and offers him something to drink while he talks about how much she looks and feels like Liz. Elizabeth asks if she is his daughter, but Cain says Liz is Meliodas' lover, making her speechless. He talks about how Meliodas met and saved Liz, and she became closer to everyone in Danafor, even Meliodas. He then mentions that Meliodas was a simpleton, to which Elizabeth says he is not a simpleton but really kind, which makes her blush. Cain told Elizabeth why Meliodas never used a real sword and that Liz offered him a sword but regretted it since he believed he would kill someone with a sword. Cain apparently carried the sword with him and gave it to her. At the same time, Cain and Elizabeth sense a large power coming from the forest and Dione, who is in the fields. Because of that, Elizabeth immediately ran into the forest carrying the sword to give to Meliodas. She finally arrived in the forest and saw Meliodas and his companions who were fighting against a scary monster. She immediately threw the sword at him and asked him to use the sword to save others. After listening to Elizabeth's request, Meliodas drew the sword and was able to easily defeat Dale's monstrous incarnation. Meliodas and his companions then held a party to welcome Gowther, who decided to rejoin the 7 deadly sins. They then discussed the Holy Knight becoming a monster and concluded that Hendrickson was the mastermind behind the gruesome experiment. After meeting Gowther, Meliodas asked him to read his mind and memory about the incident 10 years ago. Gowther then uses his invasion power and discovers that the person who had knocked Meliodas unconscious was none other than a member of the 7 deadly sins named Merlin. Hearing this, Meliodas wondered if she had betrayed the 7 deadly sins from the start or if there was another plan. Meanwhile, in the royal capital of Leonis, a heated debate erupts between Hendrickson and Dreyfus, as he intends to resurrect the sealed demons to help them win the Holy War. This is the end of the 7 Deadly Sins Season 1 Part 2.